Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Filup Molina, and here's the question. Did Mephisto ever show up anywhere in 2021? And if not, is Erik Voss ready to make a public apology? Well, we're about to find out because it's our annual edition of What We Got Wrong. Say it with me, everybody.
Wrong.
Yeah! Performance review for Erik Voss right here, right now, in the comments section. Let us know how much we should dock his pay or supplement. Or also, MT should have been part of this too. This is he took smart. Take vacation during your performance review. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, lucky
it has been an annual tradition. We do this every year when things wrap up, and in our even this scary pocket reality that we're in right now, it's still nice to look back at our past year, and we do it with some self-effacing humor here. And Erik probably will go into a defensive rage, I'm sure, about a number of these things. But Erik does a lot of off-the-mark theories, and I like that he has to own up to them sometimes. The fact that we review, that hopefully gives you a little bit of excitement whenever you hear an Erik Voss theory. It means he's going to answer for it if he's wrong.
Even putting myself at the risk of the people who hate me on Twitter, who are going to be watching this episode, clipping out little receipts that they will use to try to cancel me. I am braving the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Bring them on.
Last time we did this, it was from 2020 going into 2021. And, you know, there was a little pandemic that made it so that all the theories were wrong about everything. Movies almost didn't happen. You got off light that year. But now, as the person responsible for continuing the pandemic, I think that you know that we can't use that excuse this time. So 2021, how do you feel you did overall?
A+. No notes. Goodbye, everybody. I get to keep my job.
Bye-bye!
Look, I started off this year feeling like I should never pitch a theory again. But as the year went on, I got some calls surprisingly right. So I feel like I ended the year in a much better place than I thought I was. I would say somewhere like, I don't know, somewhere in the 70 percentile, which is unacceptable in the Voss house growing up. But, you know, with my kids, as long as they don't drop out of school, they're good in my book. They're still in the will.
70 percentile? As a company, I don't know. I might be with the Voss family. I have a call with your parents after this every year, and I don't know if they'll enjoy that.
Let me know how they're doing. Yeah. They don't pick up the phone when I call.
Well, they changed their number years ago. Just a quick reminder, if you like what we do at New Rockstars, the best way to support us is with our merch, newrockstarsmerch.com. We have all kinds of great shirts going on, inspired by all the stuff that we love right now. I know Erik loves his Strange Entanglement shirt. I love the Trust a Bro shirt because I just love the bros from Hawkeye so much. And then we have a new Boba Fett Hunter design that actually little Easter egg there, just inspired by some Banksy artwork, just for those of you that are interested in that kind of thing. Again, that's newrockstarsmerch.com. Okay, let's get started with What We Got Wrong! This is the year of Mephisto, Erik Voss. We're starting with it. You knew that this would be the thing that, like, come on. Okay. I feel like you've been waiting for this moment all year to answer to the New Rockstars audience, and honestly, to the world. What went wrong there?
Mephisto. I'm going down with the ship. Agatha's husband, Ralph, is Mephisto. 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 I am gonna place my bets on Mephisto. 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 Who's the real Mephisto?
Or what went right there?
Because don't give us hope.
So here's what I will say about Mephisto Gate. It's not a gate. It's a door. It's a portal, and he's standing on the other side of it, waving at you. with a string of grapes that are the sweetest tasting grapes if you're willing to take a taste of them. I did go hard on the Mephisto theories for WandaVision. Now everyone thinks that I predict Mephisto and everything. After WandaVision, I cooled it on Mephisto, okay? Even with Multiverse of Madness, I've said maybe, but there's probably other stuff going on there. What was really embarrassing about Mephisto is like, not only did he not show up anywhere in WandaVision, in interviews weeks after, Jack Schaefer was like, yeah, I had no idea who Mephisto was when I started working on the series. She hadn't read the West Coast Avenger comics where Mephisto's part of it.
Yeah, she kept calling him Mephisto.
Yeah, they should not ever admit in interviews that they didn't read the comics that it was based on. Just act like you did, because fans are like, what? You didn't read the comics?
Yeah.
And Philip, you remember being there when WandaVision was happening. There was that moment in episode 7, because up until that point, everyone thought Mephisto was going to be on the show. Like, we all saw the same evidence. We saw the Devils in the Details. We saw Unleash Hell Demon Spawn. We saw the parallels with the West Coast Avenger comics. We heard Paul Bettany say in multiple interviews that some huge cameo was coming at the end of the season. It's a major cameo, an actor I've always wanted to work with. And then episode 7 happens, and they say it was Agatha all along. And then I'm like, nope, wasn't just Agatha. There was someone else. Like, I still didn't
double or
it.
nothing.
Yeah, I doubled down so hard. And I think, when I look back on it, I don't want to use any of the evidence as excuses, because, like, I was the guy who pointed to a lot of random stuff saying, oh, it's Mephisto confirmed. Like, I did point to the hexagonal shape of the frames in Hayward's office. I pointed to every puff of red smoke. I never said the butterfly. Yeah. I pointed to quite a few clues. And I think the most egregious one, Philip, remember this, how, like, we said that there was a gray blur in a mirror that looked like a hand that was reaching out toward Wanda when Evan Peters shows up. Yeah, we made that the thumbnail. I still can't really explain what that blur is, but the fact that I was able to, like, connect that to it being Mephisto, like, it was definitely a stretch. I thought, like, we had grown as much as we were ever going to grow. Everyone who thought we existed or thought would look for us had already found us. But no, that was a random huge month for us. Like, we got 120,000 subscribers in a month. None of us expected all that of attention. And suddenly we were in a spotlight as, like, the tip of the spear for these theories that everyone else was. And while everyone else abandoned ship after Agatha all along, I was like, nope, I'm still on the train. And then so I think a lot of these newcomers put all my credibility on whether or not Mephisto was going to be in the show. And when he wasn't, they're all like, what an idiot. I don't trust this guy. Even though I feel like I've made way worse calls than Mephisto before on this channel. I mean, we've done this every year. I made some really stupid theories before. I'm grateful this happened. I think Mephisto represents something that is honestly a good thing for new Rockstars. I like having a North Star, even if that North Star, rather than it being God for most people on planet Earth, for me, it's Mephisto, the devil, because it keeps us, like, looking around every corner. It keeps the hunt alive, and it keeps the blood pumping. I love it. I'm proud of the work we did. No apologies.
Well, you sound downright engorged about it, but I will say that you had a lot of clues that were working toward your theory, and that is different than other times when you've been off the mark, right? My favorite is still always going to be Cap ate the Soul Stone. I don't think that'll.
That's my thing. That's what blew my mind about Mephisto, is, like, the fact that people still, like,
there were
make
so
me
many
wear
clues.
that as a scarlet letter. I'm like, if you were around with New Rockstars in 2018, I was the guy who said that Cap ate the Soul Stone at some point. Like, how am I not made fun of for that?
But because the clues on that were, like, bad color correcting, but this one, they really were not only giving lots of clues, but also it's in the comics. You weren't like making up this concept. You literally said Mephisto is your god. I wonder if you can see that you were, in a way, not only in a cult, but a cult leader. You were kind of brainwashed and into, like, confirming your own beliefs. It's kind of like if L. Ron Hubbard believes his own bullshit, or believed.
I think every cult leader does. I mean, because I think it's the power of magical thinking, right? Like, we all create our own little sub-realities or pocket realities. In a way, this is true for Wanda Maximoff, right? Like, she created a pocket reality based off her own wish fulfillment of the way she wanted her life to be. And I like to live in a world where there are little demons that are, whispering to us from the shadows that we have to say, not today, Mephisto. And we have to know when to ignore them and when to follow them down the rabbit hole. And in the world of fandom, only in the world of fandom, not in the real world, but in the world of fandom, it's really fun to watch these shows that way, to be on the hunt for what kind of, Machiavellian evil could be pulling the strings of everything. And with weirdly with Kingpin, that thinking worked out.
Okay, well, we'll get to what you got right later in the redemption zone. But I'll say, are you sure that you have that solid a grip on reality where you're like, oh, it's only in the shows that I do this or whatever. But I mean, there's no way that your brain isn't looking for clues. Just you have the Illuminati in real life or lizard people.
Here's an example of a conspiracy theory. So my dog Darla. I think she's a sweetie. I love Darla so much. But she does not like strangers who come into the house, and she barks and snaps at them. When we first met her, she was so docile around us. She could sit in my lap and let me pet her. And I have a conspiracy theory that Kelly's like, you're crazy, that the foster parents we got Darla from, drugged her. And that's the reason why Darla was so sweet around us, is that she was sedated a little bit. And Kelly's like, Erik, you've been focusing too much on Mephisto. Mephisto does not apply here.
That's famously how orphanages work. They give all the kids, they line them all up, and they all do a spoonful of Dimetap. Just get the kids just loose, to be very chill with the prospective parents or whatever, just very authentic, no nerves or whatever. I would not be surprised if that's what happened. Erik, final thing on Mephisto. If you could take it back, would you?
Never. No, I would have gone harder.
Yeah, even larger tattoo over your butt. Moving on. We accept Mephisto. We own Mephisto. But that's not exactly where the Mephisto story ends, because a trailer came out for Spider-Man No Way Home. Erik, along with many people, but Erik definitely, again, tip of the spear here, the crazy spear, was like, Doctor Strange is behaving awfully strange. To be fair, there was a wink, and we all know that what winks mean, perverts, but... and then they did remove it from the actual film once it came out. You had a couple of theories. I know one of them was, could he be Mephisto in disguise? But also that another one was that perhaps he's under the spell of the Scarlet Witch.
And we now look at this Strange, who's just warm and cozy by a fireplace. Your friendly neighborhood Strange, like he's waving at you from across a picket fence in Westview, sheltering in place with witch's brew and witchy winks, who deceives and sends our most trusted sorcerer packing. I don't think it's that insane to conclude that the Scarlet Witch's destined succession of the Sorcerer Supreme and proven mastery of his iconic spell, reclaiming his theme music, is all evidence pointing to Doctor Strange being the latest puppet under Wanda Maximoff's spell, gladly using Peter Parker's request to rewrite reality as a pretext to collide the multiverse in pursuit of a reality where her children exist.
Erik, he was just all Benny Cumberbatch. He was just normal Doctor Strange. How will you answer for your sins?
I will say that I was very wary of Mephisto from that Devil in Disguise poster from the first trailer, and right away I said, not today, Mephisto. I don't care how many parallels there were to One More Day, but yeah, I did go pretty hard on this theory that Scarlet Witch could be...
And the flames that popped up. Yeah.
Right, yeah. I really thought that, knowing that Scarlet Witch was going to show up in Multiverse of Madness, I thought that his weird behavior... there's definitely some evidence there, and I was wrong. I was totally wrong on the Scarlet Witch puppeting Strange under her spell theory. But here's what I'll say. For all these theories, man, it could still be true in Multiverse of Madness. We could say, no, it's not true, because in the trailer for Multiverse of Madness, she's like, what are you doing here, Doctor Strange? So, I
she's acting.
Got a little creative with that one. But isn't it cooler if she was controlling him? I think that's my...
Is it? Or is it more interest? Is it more interesting for the character that he, upon his own agency, is making these radical choices?
Yeah, I guess you're right. It makes her a more badass villain if she is controlling.
It makes her cooler, definitely.
Yeah.
Now, and it would also be the return of, not just what we saw in WandaVision, but just really that classic Scarlet Witch, how we first met her, of the little brain mist that she would do with her red goo and, mind control a lot. She, doesn't do it on a one-to-one level as much these days. But having seen the film now, do you think that Doctor Strange was behaving in a way consistent with his character, or do you think that was still weird that he helped Peter, now that you have the full context?
They took out the wink from the movie. I've seen it like 5 times at this point. I don't think it was as much out of character as it seemed from the trailer, because he is a risk taker. The fact that he was able to get Wong's permission, sort of like Wong just said, leave me out of this. It seemed a little less, he did see his heart kind of melted when Peter said, I'm sorry for wasting your time. Like the way the acting played out, it didn't seem that out of character. I don't have that much of a problem with the way Doctor Strange was depicted. My only issue is that he was just basically strung up in the Grand Canyon for half the movie when the most interesting stuff happened.
I want to touch on another theory you got dead wrong. Really quick on Spider-Man No Way Home. I don't think it's a big deal one, but I do want you to know that we count all of these. There was a moment, Tom Holland, where he first meets Doc Ock, Tom Holland's Peter Parker, is wearing the same thing that Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker wore. And you had a theory that was because it was like through the perception of Doc Ock, and because, or maybe that Toby's soul was inside of Tom's body.
That's why Doc Ock recognizes him. But that would also be why this Peter looks so confused, standing next to this woman's car window, as if seconds earlier he was staring at his own reflection and confused why it looked like Tom Holland. That could also explain why this Peter appears in the Toby outfit, and why Peter in this same outfit looks even more confused in that murky dungeon.
And it was just like, no, it was just similar outfits. I just want you to know that we clocked that one.
We should do a whole other video that just looks at like the big red herring goose chases in these trailers that come out. Like when we get these details that feel like they're bombshells, that later when the movie comes out, we're like, oh, that wasn't that big of a deal. Just an interesting parallel, coincidence. But when we see these things, it feels so like Smoking Gun, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think the more interesting detail about that is how wrinkled his suit was. Like, poor Peter Parker probably stuffed that in his backpack, and he's like the typical college kid going to a college interview, and it's just got the most wrinkled tie, this wrinkled suit.
Yeah,
but I definitely blew that one.
And real quick, I'm mostly chuckling to myself at the image of a red herring chasing a goose. It's like those birds.
That's crazy.
A field day, crazy birds. Speaking of crazy birds, as a British person would say, the Black Widow film came out this year. I don't mean that she's crazy. I mean that they were all mind controlled. And there were a lot of theories that you had, and they were wrong. Erik, they were wrong. Oh, God, it brings me a little bit of joy. The two that come to mind, well, or maybe even, let's say the 3 that come to mind. One is that, and I remember this thumbnail too, that the Pym particles would be a important plot device in the Black Widow films because there was a red vial.
But right before she died, Natasha still possessed one unused Pym particle during that fall. So let's just say that in those brief seconds as she fell, Natasha gets an idea. Now she has accepted her fate. She's ready to trade her soul for the Soul Stone, but she still has this unused Pym particle in her pocket. And she thinks, oh, the things I still could do with. Smack, too late, she hits the ground. Blech. But let's say back during the fall, Natasha realizes that she has some unfinished business, and now she actually has a way to clear some of the red in her ledger.
We later learned, obviously, that was a lie.
So that was a lie.
And then also that the movie would feature Natasha Romanoff coming back and being resurrected somehow through some sort of adjustment of the timeline, because you just, I think, wish fulfillment or something. You wanted that to happen. And then third, of course, is just that that they would do a face swap, face transplant style, and just gave that away right there in the trailers. Yeah, just answer to all of it.
They did do a face swap. It was not a surgical Nick Cage, John Travolta face off, but they did have masks where they traded identities. It just didn't involve Yelena. It was Natasha and Melina.
That is not what you meant. You meant
it did
a
surgical
crazy replacement. No, that is not that crazy. They did the Mission Impossible face thing. You meant like that they would hide the seams of the scars on Florence Pugh's face with now, like, well, the body is Florence Pugh who's dead and broken. Completely wrong.
Wrong.
Here's the deal. I found the detail of the marker line around her face. I was able to correctly predict that a face swap did happen. Now, did it mean that line around her face led to a face swap? No, it didn't. I got that part of it wrong. But if like you just take out the full middle, the ending and the beginning are right. But
no.
They weren't pin particles. That one was just stupid. That was just like an example of like, come on, Marvel, differentiate your production design a little bit. Why did you have to have red vials for?
There's only
that
so
antidote?
many colors. It's going to be the ether in there. Like they're running out of options. You know? I will say that pin particles showing up in a random kind of low key Avenger story apparently not that far fetched. Significant usage of pin particles in Hawkeye. Now, you also, this one is fair. I think that you got this very wrong in Black Widow, but just the identity of Taskmaster. You and everyone on the channel had all kinds of theories about who Taskmaster would be.
Yeah, for sure. I did not think that it would be Dreykov's daughter. I really thought it was OT.
And here's where I won't hold that against you. I don't know that it still won't be a new version of Taskmaster that we still get in the future. Just saying. Because like the concept of being Taskmaster, I think that isn't necessarily exclusive to one character. Speaking of these characters that are pulling strings, the big reveal, those big moments, you got another one in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And this one, I'm just going to straight up admit, I wish you were right. I really wished you were right. The identity of the power broker, you thought, it turned out to be Sharon Carter. You thought it was going to be the Mandarin.
Now, Marvel dropped this trailer the same week of the finale of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which has been teasing a mysterious power broker operating out of Madripoor in Southeast Asia, whom I have been theorizing in many videos could be connected to the Ten Rings, maybe even the Mandarin himself. And it's not like I've ever been wrong about a Marvel series finale before.
Which would have been so much cooler, which would have like tied all of like that criminal underworld together, especially the version that we were seeing was so similar to the Ten Rings. Like the vibes were kind of like this quasi futuristic Eastern gang style. Like that would have been perfect. But no, it was Sharon Carter. Which is it
was, and I fought with people on Twitter against it being Sharon Carter. I went hard against Sharon Carter for Power Broker.
I think Sharon Carter is the Power Broker. What do you think?
No. But I think she could be connected to the Power Broker. We talked about this a bit in the Inside Marvel After show. I think she's got a weird story that she needs to tell us. She's weirdly powerful. It's weird that she has this whole art collection now, and that's the world that she lives in when she could just live low profile off the grid.
To be fair, you go hard on a lot of people on Twitter.
That's my New Year's resolution is to stop going so hard on Twitter. But you're right. Yeah, I think the show would have been better if the Power Broker was Wenwu from Shang-Chi. And I remember, like, I really should own this one because my reasoning was that the Shang-Chi trailer dropped the week before the finale of Falcon Winter Soldier. So I said that's why they wanted us to remind us that Wenwu existed. Like, it was so stupid. It was on Simu Liu's birthday.
No, but they do that, right? Like Hawkeye had that with No Way Home with the simultaneous.
They did. That's what's so hard about this. Is sometimes your reasoning is proven right in other places.
But again, somewhere else you were wrong. On Falcon Winter Soldier, you also said it would tell us what happened to old man Steve Rogers and that new shield with the little panels that maybe we're going to open.
I believe this new shield was given to Cap by Wakanda in an alternate timeline, and it's composed of a new form of vibranium, a new alloy that we will be calling proto-adamantium, and it has secret, detachable parts, projectiles, and properties that are only activated when wielded by its rightful owner.
No, we didn't get any of the new shield information, and old man Steve Rogers is, as far as we know, still on that bench.
Still on a bench, on the moon, who knows? Again, the show would have been better had they answered that question. I understand that they can only do so much on these Disney Plus shows. They have to stay focused on their characters, on their arcs. They can't just answer all the big burning questions throughout the MCU. But Feige, come on. They're using that shield. Give us some answers on that shield.
Come on,
baby. Oh!
Speaking of a thing that Feige could have done and given us would have been some mutants. which you theorize, speaking of Shang-Chi, would be in a fighting tournament in Madripoor.
Other mutants that Marvel wants to tie in this universe. Because really the exciting element about these tournament participants isn't the character names themselves, it's the section of the Marvel world that they come from, and what that tells us about where the MCU will expand next. Like for example, the mutants Omega Red and WizKid tell us that Marvel might be implying mutants already exist in this universe, and we're about to meet a lot more of them.
That was wrong.
You're wrong. Dead wrong.
It could have been cool for sure. We definitely could have gotten even. I'd be down for more tournament, a whole tournament, maybe Disney Plus series or something. Could be very, very great. But Shang-Chi was great, so I don't hold that against it. I hold it against you for teasing that you thought mutants were right there, ready to show up. You do it again and again. I mean, at this point, are you gonna keep theorizing how soon mutants are gonna come in, or are you just gonna kind of
Yeah, I honestly, I pushed hard on Inside Marvel last episode that Multiverse of Madness has to introduce mutants in the MCU. I mean, I think my bigger issue with Shang-Chi is I really, really like that movie. I'm with you. I don't want to fault the movie too much. That and Mortal Kombat were two movies heading into 2021 that I thought were both going to be fighting tournament movies, and neither of them had fighting tournaments. They briefly showed people sparring, but they had no brackets, at any point in either of those movies. And I like my brackets. I want the brackets, no parentheses, brackets. So when I got in that bracket mindset, I'm like, well, who do we fill in this bracket? Well, we got to have a mutant in there. So yeah, no mutants.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're definitely going to have them.
We bought Fox.
Just for a Mole Man? Is that a Fox character, I think? It might be. Speaking of powerful old men, classic Loki. Let's move on to Loki for a second. He has that amazing death, has that Richard E. Grant performance is just like such a great way to send out the character. And you said, no. He's not gone. You see this floating debris? Erik said that was classic Loki in disguise. And he's just he's waiting for a moment to be like, ha ha, I'm back.
Notice as they approach that castle, a piece of debris floats up. Now, at first I thought this could have been a ship, but even if it is just debris, classic Loki just confirmed that floating debris can sometimes be a Loki in disguise after he fakes his death. Classic Loki, for some reason, passed up Mobius's offer to leave the void, and then he stayed and showed off an insane level of sorcery. Sorcery that he spent who knows how long refining, and then could have faked his death in that moment and then lured these variants to his castle where he reveals himself as He Who Remains, an original Loki who survived and built the Timekeepers and the TVA in order to control the multiverse with this ultimate illusion.
Yeah, no, he was.
With Loki, I got a lot right about Loki. So people kind of overlooked this missed call, but I think my episode 5 breakdown, I did end with a hard pitch that classic Loki was not dead. I think I was afraid that was kind of like my backup option in case it wasn't Kang, and it ended up being Kang, who was like my number one pick of who was probably in that Citadel. That episode, I was so drunk on the reveal. Richard E. Grant had that monologue that confirmed a theory I had back in 2018 that in one of these past episodes I had to apologize for, that Loki faked his death by being debris floating behind Thanos in Infinity War, which seems so stupid after, months after. But then he said that in his timeline, that is exactly what he did. It's like they watched our video and they confirmed that theory. So I was like, maybe. I am unstoppable. So I went hard on that pitch at the end of that breakdown. It ended up not being correct. Or we will see. No,
it is not correct. While we're on another Disney Plus show, just real quick on What If. I actually think, What If is such a weird property that I was down to go into all kinds of weird theories. But there was one that you teased, and again, wrong. But it was that the zombie virus was actually caused by that infectious disease that was stolen in the beginning of Civil War. And just that idea of teasing it and that alt branch timeline, I thought that would have been real cool. But you were still wrong, so you still lose 10% of your pay for it. Yes. But,
instead it came from the quantum realm. From nowhere, and we have no idea why.
That one is excusable, I would say. But what's not excusable? Again, The mutants. You said that the Eternals were gonna bring mutants into the MCU again.
And assuming we actually get to see the creation process of the Eternals by the Celestials, it seems likely the origins of humankind and mutant kind will also be explored, since the history of all of these is connected in Marvel lore back to the Celestials. The DNA imagery in the Eternals trailer might be pointing to this genetic history.
They should have done it.
They were already introducing the Eternals. And really like a serious version of Celestials. So you're like, and also mutants? You thought that's how they were gonna do it?
I think they should have. I think we should have gotten a tease of
an apocalypse.
Apocalypse, yeah. They decided to do several other things in Eternals.
Yeah, a room with a bunch of funny toys in it. Stop teasing me that we're getting mutants soon.
I'm hearing you want to hear more mutant theories. Okay, got it.
You also have had a lot of theories recently, but these are kind of vacant of just about who the new owners of the Avengers Tower are. You said in Hawkeye they were going to tell us. You said in No Way Home they were going to tell us.
Now in the skyline, you can make out the tower that was once Avengers Tower, which was recently remodeled to be given an atrium with a nearby sign on the ground level reading, "We are so excited to show you what comes next," with the numbers 1, 2, 3, and possibly a hint to the Fantastic Four. Now, the popular theory is that the building could become Reed Richards' Baxter Building, and now that Spider-Man director John Watts is directing the Fantastic Four film for Marvel Studios as well, I think that's a strong possibility.
We don't know, and
we still don't know. And I screwed up a detail in the Hawkeye finale where I pointed to a building that I can't remember the name of it, but there is a skyscraper in the middle of Manhattan. I'm like, that skyscraper doesn't exist in the real world, and everyone in New York is like, what are you talking about?
People tweeted at you. Yeah.
So definitely blew that call.
I don't think this tower exists in real life. And yes, it is interesting that it is masked by steam here. This is roughly where Avengers Tower used to be located.
There was one diehard fan in the building having like an existential crisis. Legitimately though, like there are probably some people that watch your videos and think like, this guy knows what he's talking about, and you'd say like this huge skyscraper that they see every day. You're like, that's not real.
You're not real.
Fucking,
I guess I have to go to work
poor
today.
guy. One last thing I want to rub your face in. This one was weird because it is MCU related, but it leaves the MCU and it goes to a film called Free Guy. With my one of my big celebrity crushes, Ryan Reynolds, he is playing a character that in some ways could be considered an avatar. Like, we could plug in different roles there. And you had this idea that he was actually going to be revealed to be Deadpool. And Deadpool's almost like using the concept of Free Guy as like a meta way to bridge his way into the MCU, which was such a big swing, a big stupid swing. Like you're not even on the field, but you're like in like the locker room, but you just like gave it your all and just like smashed up a display case. And so I respect the force of the swing, the ingenuity, the creativity. But wow, that's one of the biggest flops, I think, of your professional theory career.
I felt when I first pitched it on one of our early Free Guy trailer breakdowns, I was like, this is kind of a stretch. But then they did a promo with Deadpool and Korg. Remember that for Free Guy? And I was like, whoa, is this happening? Like Disney put Korg in a commercial with Deadpool. Like, is this our first Deadpool crossover to the MCU? I got super excited for it. But no, I think a lot of my theories were tied in with Noobmaster 69. Like, we never figured out who Noobmaster 69 was in Fortnite. And then they revealed it as DC Pearson from that one Xbox commercial with Anthony Mackie. So, that one was a real silly one.
Yeah, the Apple Store employee from Winter Soldier was the
Aaron. Apple Store Aaron.
As always, when you take a dog and you rub their nose in their mess, then you walk them over.
You shouldn't do that.
You give them some treats to confuse them. That's what I would like to do for you now. I want to reward you for some real great wins you got this year.
Okay.
One, you said that COVID was only going to get worse and you were going to see to it.
I did say that.
And you nailed it. Yeah. No, you got a lot of Spider-Man No Way Home right. Almost too much. One of the big ones was the fact that the beginning of bridging a multiverse across other universes, including like cinematic universes, would happen in this movie.
We're going to see a Tobey Maguire Peter Parker cameo in there, and we are going to see an Andrew Garfield.
And that it would also lead to an upcoming crisis with Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, I think a lot of people,
I feel like
some
of that's really old too, right? Like years ago, you were talking about some of this.
Yeah, I think that's the difference there. Is like everyone assumed that Toby and Andrew would show up, like, several months out. I went back and forth on how likely that was, but I do remember like 2 years before the movie came out, I did make a video. I'm like, is Toby gonna come back in the next Spider-Man movie?
Morbius is set in an alternate universe in the vast Spideyverse. Perhaps the reason Raimi was hired to direct Multiverse of Madness is because Marvel wanted his oversight as they attempt to establish a live-action multiverse that can bridge over to Sony's Spider-Verse in the future and retcon all past Spider-Man films, like the Andrew Garfield era, and Sam Raimi's Tobey Maguire Spider-Man as just alternate realities within this shared multiverse.
Just as one of these bullshit theories, forgot about it, and then at some point resented at the conspiracy theories that were then forming as a result of my speculation, and then to see Tobey Maguire walk through that portal, like me pre-COVID was like, he got one.
Yeah, well, you actually got a couple, right? Because you also just the in that lead up where you have Andrew Garfield out there acting his ass off, saying, "I'm not in it. It's a shop." And then that trailer comes out, and we see Tom Holland Spider-Man fighting the Sinister Five, and you called out, I think that they're in this shot, but have been digitally erased.
I found even more evidence of possibly removed assets around Peter during this battle. In the shot of Peter leaping off the Statue of Liberty head, if you look to the region to the right of Peter, there is definitely an upward moving smoky motion blur on the background rim of that giant cap shield, as if something was here leaping out of frame, removed, and when they had to pencil back in what was behind it, some of the motion blur stayed. Also, this one's a bit harder to see, but over on the left side of the same shot, a similar motion blur seems to be distorting the tip of Lady Liberty's spiky crown. So yeah, two things leaping upward right before Tom Holland Peter Parker does.
Yeah, I was not the first one to see that Lizard's head recoils. Everyone saw that Lizard's head randomly recoils. Yeah. But once I saw that, I was like, oh, I bet these guys are all over this scene, but removed. So I went through that trailer, and there is the shot of Tom Holland landing on the Statue of Liberty head. I noticed motion blur. I don't think anyone else saw these little motion blurs, but then in the movie, all three of them land in that frame just as I said they would, and it felt really cool to get that specific one right.
God, there's a branch reality where they weren't in it, and that somehow is a worse reality than our actual.
And then Mephisto worked reality to make me right to apologize.
Yeah. Another one that you got right, we talked about it earlier, but it's a pretty big one, is the Kang reveal in Loki.
Based on what we know about the Loki series and the way Avengers Endgame left the MCU, Kang is actually an extremely likely option for the next major threat facing these characters.
I could hold you to the fact that wasn't Kang the Conqueror that was in there, but I think
it was a Kang variant. That's right.
It was a Kang variant, but conceptually you're pretty spot on. I'll say so was most of nerd culture. Most people did get that one.
Well, here's the deal, dude. I won't out who this was, but there is a colleague who I very much respect. They DM'd me the week before the Loki finale and said, hand to God, it's not Kang. I know someone who works for Marvel. It's not Kang. And it scared the shit out of me going into that final week. And then I had to do like an evaluation. I'm like, I don't know who this person's source is. I really trust this person, but whatever. It'll be Mephisto all over again. I will go down with the ship of Kang. And ultimately it was a Kang variant. I don't know who that person's source was. Maybe that they were hinting at the fact, well, it's not Kang. It's he who remains, a Kang variant. I don't know.
Yeah, it might have been that. I'll also say mostly what was important about that time is it was the win that we needed. We did
need that win.
We just like those 140,000 new subscribers or whatever were, they just need to see something go right.
Yeah.
Another one that went right that's very similar actually is that Kingpin would return in Hawkeye, which is actually like kind of was going to be more of a stretch than Kang being in Loki because Kang, we knew that Jonathan Majors had been cast. But Kingpin was like a character that we thought was just done for, and there was no confirmation of that.
Evidence has emerged hinting at how both of these titles could be coordinating to reveal Papa Feige's secret plan to reveal in the MCU faces from the Netflix Marvel world, Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin Wilson Fisk and Charlie Cox as Daredevil Matt Murdock. Are we looking at a Christmas miracle of Wilson Fisk is coming to slamming your head in the car door?
I feel like from the trailers of the show, with Echo being part of it, with the tracksuit mafia based off of the comics, like Kingpin felt like much less of a risk. As soon as we saw the cufflinks as it pinched her cheek, I was like, oh yeah, this has got to be Kingpin. With Kang, it was right up until the end where I was like, I really don't know if it's going to be Kang or not. But Kingpin, I felt pretty good going in that series that at least we would see a version of Kingpin. Whether or not it was D'Onofrio was really the mystery there.
Moving on to WandaVision, obviously you had your Mephisto disaster, but you also talked about how one of the commercials was going to be for an antidepressant product, and that that's because you try to tie that to Doctor Strange.
Do not be surprised if this next commercial in the Modern Family era is a stereotypical pharmaceutical ad. Medication for anxiety, depression, or whatever hopefully undiagnosed condition Wanda has, because no one wants to accidentally mischaracterize any of those very real conditions.
Even though Doctor Strange didn't end up being in the show, you actually were right that he was supposed to be. And that those were
I think
supposed
that
to be
led
to
to my, it was like confidence, what's it called? Goeth before the fall. Like when we had seen the first 5 commercials, we knew there was going to be a 6th one. And I somehow was able to just predict, oh, this show is about Wanda's mental health. There's probably going to be a commercial about antidepressants because that's what is the most parodied format. Oh, wouldn't it be great if Doctor Strange was their pharmacist, and that was, they intended on Doctor Strange being like, he was going to cameo in that scene. And I got so drunk on power from predicting that one right that I'm like, well, then I can't be wrong about Mephisto. And so I think that led to me going so strong on Mephisto being I think it was that same episode 7, when I saw Agatha all along. I'm like, no, I see things in the show no one else does.
But you sometimes do, right? You also were right about Agatha's rabbit being a demon in disguise. That's since been confirmed. Not the demon that you thought it was, but a demon.
He played baby Jesus in last year's Christmas pageant.
The Son of God played by an animal? It's a little odd, dare I say, sacrilegious. Because that name, Senor Scratchy, sounds like a nod to Mr. Scratch or Old Scratch, which are nicknames for the devil.
For people that wonder how much we keep track of this, also, Erik throughout the year also sends over like, hey, by the way, I was right on this theory or whatever, and that's a part of how we compile this list. And sometimes I reject them, and so I would just want you to know that he wants credit for mutants showing up technically in Black Widow because Ursa Major was in a scene in Alexi's prison scene. No, that does not count as mutants.
According to the actor, it counts. That actor went on Instagram and said, I'm the first mutant on the MCU.
An actor's Instagram will never be a source that we can use here. Also, like you said earlier, you thought the face swap technically did happen. I will never let you do that unless I see the peel skin and the pizza sauce face of Face Off. That's the only version
I don't
I
want to see
have given you. Well, that's not what we got. And so then you're wrong. But one that you were super right about, which was like so big, it's so ridiculous, was in Eternals that the Celestial Tiamat was like, he was sleeping inside the earth and he's gonna hatch and all this. And that's exactly the plot of the film.
So this could be the emergence of a celestial gestating inside the Earth, the way Ego used his planet as a kind of shell. In the comics, there is a celestial known as Tiamat, the dreaming celestial who sleeps buried in a vault underneath the mountains on Earth.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that was like in the trailer, we see some brief shots of Erishim's universe history montage, and you see planets and suns and solar systems forming. And I'm like, why would we see that in the movie if not to show the origin of the Celestials? And there was this big talk about how Chloe Zhao had this big pitch. And while I was watching footage for, that movie and trailers, I was like, well, it's got to be something interesting to come out of this in order for them to talk it up so much.
Well, still quite a leap.
I mean, I got those Captain America shields dead wrong about Eternals, though. I really thought Cap's shield was going to be in throughout history. No, that was just a weird. production design coincidence.
Yeah, great thumbnail.
Great thumbnail.
I'm going to give you a beat here. You don't know that I'm planning this, but I'll give you a second here to prep. I want you to go ahead and just take one of your biggest swings of 2022 right now, right here, something that you think is going to happen in 2022. Just something huge. Take that big swing. While you think on that, I want to give a shout out to our buddy MT, who had just one of the worst theories. I love MT's theories. MT's theories are so good.
MT's theories are so fun.
And they're like so enjoyable, except this one. I wanted it so badly to not be true. He was convinced that Mysterio was actually the one up to everything in No Way Home. The events, the characters, all of them were a Mysterio illusion, which would be amazing for Mysterio and terrible for the fans, terrible for everybody else. Like, it's so cool for that character, but it's just like, no, none of this was real. I was so happy for my friend MT to be wrong. That one time.
Me
Quick
too.
shout out to MT. Eric, your big 2022 swing of the year for now.
In Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, not only will it introduce mutants, they are specifically going to show us a Fox X-Men actor, whether that be Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier, Ian McKellen as Eric Lensher, Magneto, or Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. We'll see one of them, or Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. But I'm going to say all four of them. And
Ray Park as Toad.
Shake that.
In addition to that, Wanda Maximoff will utter some variation of "No More Mutants" or "Let There Be Mutants," some kind of variation of that.
Let there be mutants now, and then like dances and like lights show up. And like then all four of them come in. It's like sexy as hell. How fucking dare you, after you got so many times wrong when mutants were gonna show up all year long. Even you just contradicted yourself about how you said they've already showed up because of Black Widow. You still make it. Here it is. Here's their big debut. If you are wrong, someone, let's see.
Will die.
Yes, yeah, someone close to you will die. Darla gets your job. And Tommy Bechtold is no longer allowed in the office. That's unrelated. That was a memo that I needed to send you. No, he just did something bad, and I just forgot to tell you. He's no longer allowed in the office.
That's just an aside.
Great job this past year. You very much killed it. You were a great quarterback for the team, and there were some big losses, but honestly, some big wins. And I feel like at the least we got to a bowl game win. Yeah, Mephisto would have been the championship. But that wraps up this year in review. I love doing these. Guys, brace yourselves. Obviously, 2022, because of Multiverse of Madness and everything coming, is going to be probably an even crazier year of theories. I've told Eric he can loosen the belt on the theories. He's been holding back. I know you got some the return, potentially some scroll search. That there's some potential scrolls that are
scroll search is back
real
on.
Soon.
Everybody's a scroll.
Yeah. All year you're gonna get theories like this again. Remember to support us by going to newrockstarsmerch.com, and also just chat us up on Twitter. Erik is gonna promise to be much nicer on Twitter this year. He's at EA Voss, and I'm at Filup Molina. Follow New Rockstars at New Rockstars, and subscribe to us if you haven't already. It's weird that you watch this video and you're not subscribed. But you're gonna get a lot of plausible-ish sounding kind of bullshit theories here on this YouTube channel. Erik, any last words for yourself?
Hold on to your butts.
All right, see you guys next time. Bye-bye.